This is Guns, Knives, and Watches, and you have to excuse the birds and all that, but I'm going to talk to you about a real sexy topic right now, man. I'm going to talk to you about them there trekking poles. And of course, because of where I buy things, i.e. Sierra Trading Post, places like that, and the amount of time I've spent around Europeans, this, that, or the other, I use Komperdell poles. The reason I started using Komperdell poles is because in mountaineering, basically, you have avalanche shovels, snow shovels, this, that, or the other, for testing for avalanches, all that type of stuff. And Komperdell was the brand that we always used, so I went ahead and continued on using their trekking poles. Now, trekking poles are really great because they give you a lot of versatility as far as just stabilizing your balance, putting some pressure off your legs, knees, hips, joints, this, that, or the other, and also partially your back. Trekking poles are something that you need to really think about. It's almost like a pocket knife. You need to put that much thought into it, or more, as far as what you like. Lecky is a real popular brand in the United States, and you can buy them in a lot of different price categories. These are the Komperdell Trekkers. Now, these are made out of 775 aluminum. They are 3-section and have just a plastic grip on them, okay? This is a very kind of a hard plastic. There are basically 3 different types of grips. On your cheaper ones, you're going to get hard plastic, and of course the straps. Definitely use the straps. You can get foam, which this is a Komperdell guide staff, basically. Foam, rubber, and then you can get cork. If you're putting in a lot of miles, cork tends to be the best. And of course, these are the Trailmaster corks. And they have a system where, like on a bicycle, they have locks. One thing that if you are going to use, these are actually some of the more models that I like. One of the things you want is you want a carbide tip, okay? And this is a flexi tip. You can't tell it, but it flexes just a little bit. And then these locks tend to be the best, but remember, you know, it's got a screw on the other side, so you have to have some way of possibly tightening that screw and adjusting it on the trail. And cork handles with a good strap system. Now, there's another feature that your trekking poles can or cannot have, and of course all these are aluminum because these are lower priced units. They have them in carbon fiber, they have them in whatever you want to buy. But the other type of lock system is basically just a twist lock. You twist it, come out to where the markings, wherever you have yours, and then lock it. Those over time can come loose if you don't get them really tight. Another thing about the staff, if you just want to use one end, this can also work as a monopod for a camera. But if you just want to use just one, this is not a bad option. But there is another feature, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to really show this to you. But there's a suspension shock system, okay? So any additional force or vibration or anything basically gets taken up by the shock system, and then you turn it a little bit and it locks it out, okay? It's the same as suspension on a mountain bike. So this guide staff has it, and also so do those higher end Komperdell Trailmasters. And the Trailmasters, I don't know if they even tell what they're made out of. No, they don't. Some type of aluminum. Of course, they're made in Australia. Australia. They're made in Australia, man. No, they're made in that there Austria, man, and in that there European type country, man. They ain't made in down under, man. Now, whether you use a basket or not on yours, that's totally up to you. Some people do, some people don't. They're totally removable, replaceable, and you can sit there and see that you can basically just twist it off. if you ever have a problem taking your baskets off, because I did on these poles right here, because remember, these are the Trail Masters, and your Trail Masters, if you were to buy these, were not going to look like this. It's not because they've changed them, because they have, and they come out with different models all the time, but I've actually upgraded these. These Trail Masters are going to run about $27 with a 30% off coupon at Sierra Trading Post. Those Trailmaster Corks are going to, the Trekker is going to run you about that. The Trailmaster Corks are going to be more expensive because, one, they have that suspension system, two, they have the twist locks, three, they have the cork grip, and four, they have carbide ends on them and not steel. And you go, well, these Trekkers have carbide tips too, but they only have carbide tips because I installed them. Okay, the original tips on these trekking poles are right here, and then it has the holders for the baskets. So what you do is, whenever you're changing out these tips, you get you a new set of tips. Extend your pole out a little bit, just because you want to, so you don't get everything wet. And then I put mine in water just a little bit. Took my baskets off because it just made them more pliable. And then basically just experiment on how to get these off, because these little suckers, this was the hardest part of it, was getting this off. This one I cut through and then realized that I could just heat it up, grab it with a pair of pliers, because this is a hard plastic, and then twist it off. So that's basically what I did. These tips I just pulled out of the end. So if you were to look at this, it would have your little basket holder right here with your basket on it, and then just at the end of the aluminum shaft you'd have this steel tip on it. Now the steel tips are fine, but I learned very quickly by borrowing and watching other people and this, that, or the other, that these steel tips, and listening to them bitch, that these steel tips, number one, wear out and they get very slippy really quick. Of course, they're stainless steel, this is aluminum, So if you have one of these that are the cheaper type of Komperdells, then basically all you do is, I heated this up to loosen that green glue on there, pulled the stainless steel tip out, took these basket holders off, and then of course got the tips that go on the nicer poles. Oops. Got the tips that go on the nicer poles and just installed them. What I did was I put them on the shaft, heated them up again. The pole was already a little warm from taking these off. Heated it up and pushed them on. You might need to do that a few times. It takes about a minute or so. To put new tips on two poles shouldn't take more than 3 minutes. That does not include the time it takes to boil water, or to get it up to a boil. But that's like I said, the hardest was getting rid of these pieces, these cheaper type setups. But we really like them. We're going to start using them every time we go out hiking, just to try to deal with just safety, security, that type stuff. Now, Mrs. Guns, Knives, and Watches doesn't use two poles a lot. She just uses an individual pole, which is this guide staff. But I'm going to try and convert her over. Some of the strap systems, because both of these, neither one of these have a very sophisticated strap structure. Yeah, they have some different. They go to different sizes and stuff. Some of the more sophisticated ones are like these. They're sewn, and it's just kind of what you want. You can pull it tighter, pull it looser. As long as you pull up, it's fine. But when you put your hand in it and pull down, everything locks. And that's the way kind of all of these work, except for this one. That's just a standard clasp. But anyway, that's just some of the things that I've learned. Like I said, these trekker poles, we only had $27 in, so it was worth the upgrade, the tips, just because we deal with a lot of rock, a lot of limestone. It's kind of important. Plus, Komperdell is not a brand that you can just walk in any outdoor store and them have it. So my suggestion is you know, get something a little bit better. You can go to REI and buy your poles, which might be a great idea for someone who's just learning. Not only can you talk to a professional there, but you get a 1-year return if you're a member of the REI co-op. And you know, that's a whole other deal. But you know, spend some money on your poles, especially if you're in hilly areas, if you're doing longer hikes, if you're doing, you know, this, that, or the other, because it really can save your knees and your hips and everything, and just give you a little bit more stability out there on the trail. This is Guns, Knives, and Watches, and have a good one.